Welcome to Lingua Wire English B1. Today we have two stories. One about a new 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran, and another about a big change to presidential elections in Zimbabwe. Follow us so you can practice your English every day with the latest episode. For transcripts and comprehension quizzes, visit linguawire.com. I'm here with Sarah, Lingua Wire's international politics correspondent. Sarah, what exactly happened with the ceasefire between the US and Iran?
Hello, Daniel. The US and Iran agreed to a 2-week ceasefire starting on April 8, 2026. During this time, Iran will allow ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, a very important shipping route. This agreement came after more than a month of attacks between the US, Israel, and Iran.
What is new about this ceasefire now? Has anything changed in the last hours or days?
Yes, the ceasefire is new because it started immediately after Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif helped with the negotiations. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would stop bombing Iran for 2 weeks if Iran reopened the Strait of Hormuz. This is a big change because before, Trump had warned of very serious attacks against Iran.
Why did the US and Iran agree to this ceasefire? What reasons did they give?
The U.S. says it has already met its military goals in the conflict. Iran agreed because they want to stop the war in their country and nearby places like Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. Iran also wants the U.S. to lift sanctions and release frozen Iranian money. They even said they will not try to get nuclear weapons.
Why does this ceasefire matter to the world? What could happen if it lasts or ends?
This ceasefire matters because the Strait of Hormuz is very important for global oil shipping. If ships cannot pass, oil prices can go up and affect many countries. If the ceasefire lasts, it could reduce tension and help peace talks. But if it ends quickly, the conflict could become worse again.
Is there anything surprising or unusual about this ceasefire deal?
One surprising detail is that Iran gave a 10-point plan with many conditions. This plan asks for compensation for war damage and a full stop to fighting in several countries. It is unusual to see such a detailed plan in a short ceasefire agreement.
What might happen next after these 2 weeks?
If both sides keep their promises, they might start longer peace talks. But if either side breaks the ceasefire, the conflict could restart. Many people will watch closely what happens at the end of the 2 weeks.
How are other countries reacting to this ceasefire?
The United Nations and the Pope both spoke against the earlier threats of serious attacks. Now they hope the ceasefire will bring peace. Pakistan's Prime Minister, who helped with talks, said the ceasefire is effective immediately. This shows some international support for the deal.
Does this ceasefire affect only Iran and the US or other countries too?
It affects other countries too, especially those near Iran like Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen. The ceasefire plan includes stopping war in these places. Also, many countries depend on oil from the Gulf, so the open Strait of Hormuz helps the global economy.
Now I'm joined by Adam, Lingua Wire's Africa correspondent. Adam, what is happening with the presidential elections in Zimbabwe?
Hi, Daniel. The ruling party in Zimbabwe called ZANU-PF has proposed a new law. This law would stop voters from choosing the president directly. Instead, the parliament would pick the president. Also, the president's term would increase from 5 to 7 years.
What is new about this proposal today? Has the government made a decision?
The new development is that the ruling party has officially unveiled the draft law. They are now holding public hearings where people can say if they agree or not. This is the first time the government has shared the full plan publicly.
Why is this change causing so much debate in Zimbabwe?
Many people, especially in the opposition, say this is a way for the ruling party to keep power for longer. They call it a slow coup. But supporters of the ruling party say it will make elections less costly and less controversial. The country is very divided about this.
Why does this matter for Zimbabwe's future? What could happen if the law passes?
If the law passes, voters will lose the right to choose their president directly. This could make the government less democratic. It might also cause more protests or political tension. On the other hand, the ruling party says it will bring stability and save money.
Is there anything interesting from the public hearings that you can share?
Yes, thousands of people attended a hearing in Harare, the capital. Some speakers strongly supported the president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, staying in power beyond 2028. This shows how divided the country is. Many want change, but others want the current leader to stay.
What might happen next with this law?
The parliament will continue to discuss the draft law. If they approve it, the constitution will change. But if opposition pressure grows, the government might slow down or change the plan. It is a very uncertain situation right now.
How long has the ruling party been in power in Zimbabwe?
ZANU-PF has been in power since 1980, when Zimbabwe became independent. The current president, Mnangagwa, took power in 2017 after removing the previous leader with military support. He won elections in 2018 and 2023, but some people say those elections were not fair.
What do supporters of the ruling party say about the new system?
They say it will be less expensive and less controversial than direct elections. They believe letting Parliament choose the president will reduce problems during elections. This is why they support the draft law.
Let's look at some useful words from our first story about the ceasefire between the US and Iran. The theme is peace and conflict. First word, ceasefire. A ceasefire means stopping fighting or war for a time. In the story, the US and Iran agreed to a 2-week ceasefire to stop attacks. For example, the soldiers agreed to a ceasefire during the talks. Second word, sanctions. Sanctions are penalties or rules that one country puts on another to stop trade or money. In the story, Iran wants the US to lift sanctions that hurt its economy. For example, the country faced sanctions because of its actions. Third word, compensation. Compensation means money paid to make up for damage or loss. Iran asked for compensation for war damage in the ceasefire plan. For example, the company gave compensation to the workers after the accident. Now, for our second part, let's learn the verb to agree. To agree means to say yes to an idea or plan. It is a regular verb, so in the past tense, we add ed, agreed. We use agree when people have the same opinion or accept something. For example, they agreed to meet tomorrow, or I agree with your idea. In the story, the US and Iran agreed to a ceasefire. This means both said yes to stop fighting for 2 weeks. Remember, agree is useful when talking about decisions or plans between people or countries. That's all for today's language recap. Follow Lingua Wire for the latest daily episode and build your daily language habit with us.